Dear God, thank you for your one and only Son, Jesus Christ, who came on this earth, died for our sins. Thank you for his resurrection from the dead. Thank you for our resurrection faith in him, and through him, pray that you may receive the Holy Spirit. You may give me the Holy Spirit today, and be with me while I share this presentation of Kings. Thank you. Pray in Jesus' name. Amen. That's good?
Yes.
People in the back, raise your hand, sir. Hannah, can you hear me? Rue, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
clear, very clear.
My presentation will it's a very visual. There will be a lot of maps, and as soon as there's like 1 more megabyte to download, I don't know how to start without it really, but I want to do the presentation on today. You want to sing a hymn? Okay, sorry. Even though I'm kind of nervous, I'll play the trumpet right now to wake everyone up. Key verse. Okay, let's read. Open our Bibles to 1 Kings 17. Key verse is Israel did not commit. Second Kings
Yes, okay,
I chose the key verse. Let's open the Bibles to 2 Kings 17:7. Let's go. All this took place because the Israelites have sinned against the Lord their God, who had brought them up out of Egypt from under the power of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. They worshipped other gods and followed the practice of the nations the Lord had driven out before them, as well as the practices that the kings of Israel had introduced. Let's keep going. The Israelites secretly did things against the Lord their God that were not right. From watchtowers to fortified cities, they built themselves high places in all their towns. They set up sacred stones and Asherah poles on every high hill under every spreading tree. Okay, let's keep going. At every high place they burned incense, and nations whom the Lord had driven out before them had done. They did wicked things and provoked the Lord to anger. They worshipped idols, though the Lord had said, "You shall not do this." The Lord warned Israel and Judah through all his prophets and seers, "Turn from your evil ways, observe my commands and decrees in accordance with the entire law that I may command from your fathers to obey, that I commanded your fathers to obey, and that I delivered to you through my servants, the prophets." I chose this key verse because it's not working. Okay. Yeah, I chose this key verse because of our identity. Our identity is a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. And when Israel and Judah strayed away from their identity and what made them kings, they lifted up worthless idols and worshipped Asherah poles and all these other things. It took away what made them God's chosen people.
So like what I was trying to say is that we are kings. Because we are royal priesthood, chosen people. We are a chosen people, a royal priesthood.
It's not like this royal wedding. We are chosen by God. It's not like the Game of Thrones. We are actually all people of all nations here. So, who's the Prince of Brazil? Princess of Bolivia is here. 2 of them are here, and many others. So I basically outlined very shortly the 1 Kings, starting from Solomon, and it's divided into Israel and Judah, and then we begin with the reign of Ahab, and it ends with Jehoshaphat, who takes over his reign, and that's what begins 2 Kings. And what you see here is that it is divided from 1 Kings 11 and 5, 10 tribes of Israel, and Jeroboam, and 2 tribes of Judah. So basically, the 2 Kings is the book of captivities because it's a deterioration of Israel and Judah, and they are deported, as you can see here. It starts with the division, and it begins Rehoboam and Jeroboam, and then you see that I found that the kings of Israel were mostly all evil. There was not even one that was purely good. However, in the line of Judah, which is the line of David, there are a couple of good kings. And as you can see here, this line was taken over by the Babylonians, and the Israelites were taken over by the Assyrians. And that's why, in this map you can see why. Because kingdom of Israel was closer to the Syrians, and the Babylonians came and infiltrated the whole of Judah, which took longer. This is just a summary of the kings. As you can see here, this is the line of Judah, the line of kings of Judah, and it starts with David, and then it goes to a very important king, Jehoshaphat. And Ahab is a very evil king, and you can see Ahab. And have you heard of Jezebel? Everyone knows Jezebel. Yeah, she's very evil, and because of her and Ahab, this whole line, basically, Jehu was the person who killed basically Ahab and Jezebel, and he was good, mixed with good and bad. But God promised that his up to 4 generations, they'll be blessed. So as you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, they'll be on the throne, and God keeps his promises. So this Kings begins with this story, and you can see that there is some big problem in the Book of Kings immediately from the beginning. The king Ahaziah, he doesn't consult a prophet. He consults who? Beelzebub, the god of Ekron. It's not even Elisha or anyone. So Elisha's very angry because, it says right, because you sent messengers to consult Beelzebub, the god of Ekron, as if there were no God in Israel to whom you could pray. You'll never get out of bed alive. Already you are as good as dead. It sounds like when my dad threatens me. It sounds like this. Very scary. And that's power of the word of God and the prophet, right? And I want to talk about this king because this is the king in the time period where the ministry of Elisha was very active. Okay, and this is really the main point of this presentation, is talking about Elisha. Why? Because Elisha was like a second gen, or inherited double portion of Elijah's spirit, and did many great things. So what is Elisha's desire? Elijah's desire was, what do you want? Oops, sorry, can I go back? Oh no. Okay, Elisha's desire is, I want a double portion of the Spirit. And he did not want anything else in the world. And then, you guys know the story very well. Chariots. He said it wasn't easy for him to receive a double portion. He would have to see Elijah being taken away through a fire, a chariot of fire. Elijah asked for a double portion of Elijah's spirit and not his stuff. I could really relate this to Proverbs 19:14. This is the scripture I really prayed and meditated on before I got married. It says, houses and wealth are inherited from parents, but a prudent wife is from the Lord. So I felt that this was very similar to receiving not material blessing, but God's blessing. Because houses and prudent wife is from the Lord. Remember that. It's only given from God. And another thing that I want to talk about is that, as you know, I married by faith, and I met Maria on June 1st, and I got married to her June 10th. So I knew her 10 days, and before I got married, but when I always go back to where we started, it's always the same foundation of faith. And what I realized is that no matter how many years go by, when I go back to the same place, it always started with faith. And that is the legacy that the older generation is trying to teach us. It's the foundation of faith. And that is their secret, and that is their spirit. Okay, so there's a story of Naaman, and Naaman it's a very, how am I doing on time? Yeah, okay, yeah, that's good. Naaman is a very influential figure because he's the general of the Assyrian army. So he's like a big figure. He's like, Assyrians were known for their art of war. They were military strategists. And this guy, he was so proud. But one thing, he had leprosy. And you can see that the king of Syria, Ben-Hadad, gave him permission to see Elisha because he knew that Elisha could heal him. And as you can see here, that's Ben-Hadad too. And this is the whole Syrian army, and basically the general of this army came to Israel to meet Elisha. So that's big deal. So Naaman was insulted because he knew that the rivers of Damascus were much more beautiful. Why should I wash myself in the Jordan River? But at the end of the day, he obeyed simply, and then the results were miraculous. So the simple lesson here is, do not let your pride stand in the way. The way of the gospel is simple way. Humble yourself and walk in obedience. And then this is the opposite story. Gehazi is the servant of Elisha, who's Naaman's like, oh, I'm healed. I'll give you like gift. And then Elisha said, no, this is not the appropriate time to receive a gift. But Gehazi, it's a very clear warning from the Bible. Let's not be bribed or accept gifts, especially at the wrong time. So he received a gift, which is leprosy. Okay? And then these are the events that happened in 2 Kings. So this is where mostly the ministry of Elijah happened, where he heals, he steals the poison stew, he helped a Shunammite woman, he helped another woman get out of debt. A lot of things happened. And then the key point, the turning point of a lot of the history is when Jehu was anointed. And what he did was he slayed Joram, Jezebel, and Ahaziah in Jezreel, that place. Okay? And really when that happened, still the Israel line was very evil. Okay, so I just included this because I wanted to reflect upon Elisha's the power that God had given him, because he was dealing with kings, and we were facing many situations where we were dealt with very powerful people, and we shouldn't be afraid. Why? Because God gives us power, even supernatural power, if the situation presents itself, like this. Basically, the sons of the prophets needed a new place to stay, and their acts fell in the water. So Elisha just basically magnetized it out of the water. And then you can see Elisha's strategic strength. He basically knew the plans of the king of Syria and their battle plans. How did he know where they were going to go and their next move? That's a very, very big example. That's a very big strategy. Advantage in the art of war. Okay? And yeah. Time is over. Thank you for listening to half of my presentation. Okay. Yeah. So my prayer actually is for you to be interested in the book of Kings, and read the Bible yourself too. Okay, so the book of Kings is second book of Kings is really related directly with prophecy and the prophets, because the prophets actually lived in the same time as the kings, and they functioned as shepherds and people who spoke God's word to them. So this is the word from Amos, and he basically said Tyre will be burned, Aram will be conquered by Assyria. All these things happen. And as you can see here, like I was trying to tell you, all the kings of Israel are bad. Except Jehu, but Jehu he's an interesting figure, because Elisha told him go kill them. He basically gave him he listened to Elisha, and then he basically killed the very evil line, and then it could kind of start a new hope. But still, you can see how powerful Elijah was, because with one word, which he commanded, because he received from God, Jehu obeyed his command, and then he carried it out. Okay, and you can see here, this is the timeline, and you can see all the prophets who lived together with them. And you see, I'm here, and I'm with Joash, this guy. He was a good king. Yeah. But this is a mixture of good kings. This is a mixture of good and bad. Bad, good. Good. 1, 2, 3, 4. In the between. 4. In between 4. Only one. Mixture of good and bad. Only one. Jehu. Okay. So that's why I want to talk about this guy. So this guy, he slayed the evil Jezebel, but he also bowed his head down to the king of Syria. But this is very famous. You can do more research when you have time. But this still, he is very bad and good and bad. Okay, and then so this is a very interesting part. This was the only woman royal blood, which is she reigned for 6 years, but she almost killed the bloodline of David. She killed everyone except this baby, which became a king. Carried out the line, Joash. And this guy, he repaired the temple of God. So he was a very good king, and he really started and this guy unfortunately was bad right after him. And Israel, this was the last king of Israel, Hosea, and so if you read here, the Assyrians set the stage up for development through intermarriage of the people known as Samaritans, and if you see in the map, Samaria is right there and Assyria is right there, so they intermarried and they later on became Samaritans. And this is the Assyrian army. Look how big it is. Here, and their influence all the way down here to Samaria and later on to Jerusalem. And later on, this is the second king of Assyria after the Shesa, I can't pronounce it. And then it spread all the way to here. Okay. And Hezekiah, this is the great king Hezekiah, and his greatness is not because of these things, but because of this things. He maintained his identity, and he rebuilt the temples. He destroyed all the ashen poles. That's what he did. And this is what we have to do every day in our lives, is break down the strongholds. Also, interesting, he was about to die, but he prayed to God, say, Lord, remember how I prayed to you and lived a life that was righteous and right before you, and then God gave him 15 more years. So when you're about to die, pray to God like that, and he'll give you 15 more years of your life. Okay. And then this is the time of Judah at the time of Hezekiah. And it was very, it was, events were progressing here. There are many, the forces were starting to conquer. It's almost about time, that they were going to be led to the Babylonians. And Hezekiah, there was one story. The Babylonian envoys came, and Hezekiah, showed the envoys all the beautiful things of Israel, all Judah, and then they found the secrets to Judah and all the intellectual property, and they stole it. And I mentioned this because the prophet Isaiah harshly rebukes Hezekiah that, because you did this, now we'll be handed over to the Babylonians. Yeah, and this is very ironic. He reigned for 55 years, but he was an evil king. And it means he was not a good king. Yeah. So this is very, because long life is considered to be a blessing from God, but he reigned a long time. So this is one of the just outliers. Yeah, and okay, and then my presentation almost done. So Hosea, this guy, he basically was the king of Judah, and he got into a really bad war with the kingdom of Egypt, and they got into a big fight. And and then this is the last three kings before the Babylonians, they were taken over by Babylonians. And so this is the new Babylonian Empire. As you can see, Judah is in there. And that's when it opens up the ways for Daniel and his friends. And then, but God is in all of this because you can see now Daniel becomes part of this empire and culture, and still everything is carried out like God, to God's plan. So this is just a summary of all the prophets and the civil wars and everything together.
What did you learn about second king? You want to?
Oh, what I learned.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, I personally learned that it was emphasized in the beginning of my presentation and at the end always is to maintain a clear identity before God. If we lose our color, the salt that we have, then we will be trampled by all these other nations. All the nations were just ready to just swallow Israel up. And that's why we read the key verse I chose was because God didn't want Israel to be like all the other nations. He didn't even want them to have kings. But because they wanted kings so badly, God gave it to him. And he warned them about it too. So what that taught me is that the only king I have is Jesus. Not myself or all the other nations that are around me, like right now. There are many influences, but I think the only we can see through this presentation, if you keep a clear identity as God's chosen people, we are actually a royal priesthood. We are royalty. Joshua is the prince of Sao Paulo. I can't pronounce that. And Dr. Peter Chang is the king of Gabon, and Princess of Toronto, Paulina, and princess of two princesses in Toronto, like this, and continuing on. So that's what I learned. Is there any other questions, Dr. Peter Chang? Anyone has a question? Thank you.
Wow. I'm so thankful because you could see Joel had joy learning the history of God in 2 Kings, and he encouraged us all to read and study 2 Kings. You can only do that if you enjoy what you did, so good advertising, Joel.
Yeah.
And I'm also thankful that he saw himself in the book of 2 Kings, literally, and also he saw us and our history in the book of 2 Kings. So like Joel said, we are kingdom of priests. And what I learned from 2 Kings is that king is very important. King gives influence. So when we say we are kingdom of priests and a holy nation, this is our vision for the SEBT. It's the basis, right? If a king gives influence, we also as SEBTs, self-motivated executive Bible teachers, are influential people. Be aware of the influence you give. And what's important about the king in 2 Kings, as Joel pointed out, are they people of faith or not? Do they follow the way of God or not? So we really pray that we can be kings who are who carry our responsibility before God with faith, growing as SEBTs. Thank you very much, Joel.
Thank you.
So, announcements. We are now going to break for breakfast. Please meet back here at 9 and you'll receive your question sheets. We'll give you some time after the factual study in the morning to prepare for Bible study. So meet back here at 9. Okay, I'll pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for teaching us what you have done in human history through 2 Kings. Thank you for helping Joel to study this book thoroughly and to see himself and to see us in the book. Thank you for this new identity that you have given us as a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. Father, help us to receive this identity with thanks and with reverence before you, and carry ourselves as those who have been appointed your kingdom of priests, holy nation, influencing those around us by faith, following your way. Please grow us as self-motivated, executive Bible teachers who can lead others to you for your glory. Your kingdom come. Thank you for this time of prayer. I pray all this in Jesus' name.
Amen.